Okay, survival documents, something I got to talk about bugging out, especially if your bug out plan involves international travel. Now, a lot of people might be watching this video and thinking, oh, well, you're going to leave the country when the shit hits the fan. Realize that a lot of people who are still in the military, it's not a question of leaving the country when the shit hits the fan, it's a question of getting back to the country, okay? And if you're trying to negotiate your way around the world with a military ID card like this old one of mine, or the new style ones that are actually a little easier to fake than the old ones. The new cards really rely on the computer system they're hooked up to, not the security built into the card itself. If you're trying to negotiate your way around the world, you got to have a passport. Okay, that's the only way to fly. If you apply for a passport in the United States, you also have the option of applying for the passport card, which I highly suggest you do. So you have something that's a little more portable, that's waterproof, it's not paper the way a paper passport is. If you're going to try to rent a car in a foreign country, you need to have an international driver's license, which is what this is. This would work in conjunction with your regular state-issued driver's license. And then if you're traveling in some third world countries, you got to have shots in order to get your visas approved. So if you're traveling through certain countries with a U.S. passport, they're going to have instructions from the U.S. State Department. If there's diseases in that country which they don't really want you bringing back to the U.S. without having immunities to them, they're going to mandate that you get certain shots to travel in certain countries. It's a health thing, okay? And if you're in the military, you can get those shots, and then they'll give you this card right here. It's actually kind of a little pamphlet type thing where they record the shots you have. And generally speaking, you keep these three items in a little pouch somewhere, well secured, that sort of thing. Your card you keep in your wallet. The other thing I would suggest doing is that if you have other credit cards, IDs, other wallet cards, open up your wallet every once in a while. Copy fronts and backs of these things. I'm just showing that really quick. It's a piece of paper. I'll show it from a distance so that nobody's trying to glean my credit card info out of that. But it's basically, we got a front, we got a rear, we've got some cards. Most of these are expired, or they're like First National Bank. I'm not even sure if they're still in business. But anyway, the thing about that, having copies of credit cards, obviously you can't swipe a paper copy of a credit card through a machine, but if it's you and it's your ID, you can still process a lot of purchases just having the numbers, okay? And you have your legitimate ID, like a passport. You keep that all in one place. It's almost like a backup copy of your wallet. The other thing you want to look out for is if you're in the military, you can get a spare military ID card. Go to any military base, and this is something to do even if you're on active duty, you're home on leave. A lot of times there's going to be a military base. It may even be from another branch of service. You stop out to use the PX or something, or the AFIS there, and tell them, listen, if I were to lose my military ID card, is there a place where I can get one? And they'll tell you. And then it's not too hard to say, hey, my military ID card was in the shorts of my PT shorts. It got lost in the laundry. I really need to get another one. Here's my driver's license, my passport, right? You can use a passport to get your other identification back. If you're stuck all the way down to where you only, you know who you are, and you got to go file for your birth certificate, got to file for your social security card, all that kind of shit, it's a major hassle. It's a major hassle to lose your driver's license if you don't have a passport to prove your identity, even in your home state. So I suggest that. I suggest if you're in the military, regularly, once a year or so, report your military ID lost. Go get another copy. Take the old one, put that with your document vault in a stash someplace, along with your wallet vault. You can get backup copies of a lot of your regular credit cards. I would suggest doing the same thing, but in the short term, you can do the paper copy and have that as a survival item that is every bit as important as other survival items. Let me tell you something. Losing a wallet sucks. And being able to recover your identity, a passport really helps. The other thing is identity theft really, really sucks. And it's very difficult because applying for new credit usually requires the driver's license number, the social security card. A lot of times your social security number is on your driver's license. And so people copy driver's licenses in the course of doing things, getting a job, renting certain things. A lot of times they want to copy your driver's license. And what happens is they're walking away with your credit identity. Now, traditionally, when people go into foreign countries, it's common for people to photocopy part of your passport. Let's say your visas. They'll copy the main page. It'll identify you, but it doesn't identify your occupation or where you live all the time. It rarely does anything on a passport app situation involve your home address. And that really dates back to when the new style passports were designed after the Cold War. A lot of Americans traveling overseas knew that they were being exposed to enemy espionage organizations that would use any documents they get a hold of to try and get their hooks in somebody. So passports and passport cards had been very specifically designed to make it very difficult for somebody to glean other information about you apart from the fact that this is your identity and you're the person in the picture. Driver's licenses, on the other hand, are like an encyclopedia entry about you. Even though I'm covering up a lot of this federal ID right here, it doesn't have my address. It doesn't have my social security number. It has its own numbers, its own codes that only certain government agencies can decode. Okay, this isn't going to be a situation where, let's say, a cop pulls you over on a street. Now, if you're driving, you have to produce a driver's license. If you are not driving, you only would have to produce ID, and that varies a little bit state to state. But if you were not driving and you produce a passport, and a guy starts asking what's your address, what's this, what's that, you don't have to tell him. Okay? If you produce one of these for identity and somebody runs off and copies it, there's next to nothing on that card that they can use to access your personal credit profile. And for $200 to have an alternate ID that is entirely valid, that does not access your credit profile, that does not give away your home address, it does not give away your social security number, I highly suggest this as a survival thing. If you're in the military and you're concerned about how you would ever get home if you didn't have your military ID card and you're stuck in a foreign country and you don't have any visas stamped, the passport helps. The other thing you can do, and while you're in the military and you go in through international checkpoints, you can show your military ID and explain to the customs people, hey, listen, when I'm out on leave or when I do something else or just as a souvenir, would you please stamp my passport? And they have the little rubber stamp things right there with them. They can stamp your passport so that if you were to be on leave and you need to conceal the fact that you're in the U.S. military, you can do that. Which, as America becomes a little bit less popular in foreign countries, I think that's a smart idea. Especially in Europe, it may not be popular to be American. It's definitely unpopular to be in the U.S. military among certain circles. And if you need to lie about something, it's a hell of a lot easier to tell lies while you're holding a U.S. passport and they can't find your military ID card. Okay, and the other advantage you have in a U.S. passport is that there are some foreign passports that you can obtain once you have a U.S. passport. There's some from the Caribbean that you can purchase. And then there's some European passports that you can apply for if you can prove your heritage to that particular country. Germany offers heritage passports, the UK does, Ireland does, France, Poland, Italy, I think Spain does. I'm not sure about Spain and Greece, but I think they do. I think most of the EU countries do that now. And so that's something I'm going to suggest as my little survival tip of the day as you're preparing and getting things. Go ahead and get the federal ID. Now, whether or not you believe in the New World Order and this and that and that and this, the reality is if you grandstand against having it, your life becomes a hell of a lot more difficult. If you want to politically be against it, that's you, okay? And you can tear the thing up or hide it or whatever after you get it, but the important thing is to have another option available to you for navigating checkpoints. Anyway, I'm going to sign this one off and post the video.